I'm going to surprise my wife today, and I'm going to make some elk parmesan and homemade noodles from scratch. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going out to the chicken coop. You could probably hear him behind me. Let's flip the camera, and I'm going to grab some eggs. Hopefully there's some eggs. Alright. My little makeshift chicken run. Go back here. We got, those are all fake eggs. Oh, look at this. We got one egg here. That one's brand new. It's still warm. And we got one egg there. So, 2 eggs. We'll go in and we'll get the pasta started. Alright, now we're in the garage. And we're going to grab a pack of elk backstrap out of the freezer. And I got this. Elk backstrap from the beginning of the year. Alright, so first off, we're going to start with our pasta here. And we're going to, I've got a half a cup measuring cup. We're going to make 1 cup full. So, this is just all-purpose flour. One cup. And we take our eggs that we just got. Yeah, 1 light white egg. Ooh, that went blurry. 1 white egg, 1 tan egg. And these eggs, they're tougher than the store-bought ones because they're straight from our coop. You just break these right into the center. Got 1. 2 eggs. And then, just like any other basic pasta recipe, you just break your yolks in here. And then just kind of whip them up. You keep them in this volcano shape while you're whipping them up. And then once you got them whipped up, you just slowly incorporate the flour. Then once you got it, excuse me, pasty enough to work with your hands, then you can work it up with your hands as soon as you got the flour incorporated enough into your eggs. And what I like to do is, before it's all incorporated super well, I like to go ahead and add my flour. I don't add it, or my salt, and I don't like to add as much salt as a lot of people do. So what I do here is I just add so it's supposed to be 1 teaspoon of salt to 1, but I only add about a half a teaspoon, so it's about 5-6 shakes, and then I incorporate that into this little mixture. Make sure it's thoroughly added. And then I just start working all this flour in. I do it this way so there's not as big as a mess. because I don't like to make a lot of mess, because then I got to clean up more. So now you got to this point, and then you just mix it by your hand. And if you need a little bit more texture to it, or more, more wetness or dryness, you just add water or flour, depending.
So a couple things I'm concerned about right away. Transmission. I'm really hoping the transmission on this thing's good.
Let me pause this really quick.
So once they go, and then I'll be prepared.
And I'll bring you back after we're all mixed up. Okay, so once you've got it into your nice little ball like this, I like to take a little bit of flour. Not a whole lot. Just spread it out a little bit. And then I'm going to cover it with a small bowl here. And I'm just going to let that set for half an hour. And then I'll bring you back. Alright, so it's been about a half an hour now. And this has been resting. So what you want to do now is you want to take this and knead it for 10 minutes. Well, 10 to 12 minutes. And what I like to do is twist it and just fold it over on itself, like so. Get it all kneaded up for 10 minutes. And when I got that done, I'll bring you back for the next step. Alright, so we got that all kneaded. We're going to toss that over in our bowl really quick. You can get a little bit of flour on here. You want this whole surface covered really well, because what we're going to do now is we're going to roll this out into a really, really thin really thin piece of dough. So I'll bring you back when we got that rolled out. This is after much rolling. And it's almost there. Just need a little bit more rolling out from the center to the outside. And it's not going to be perfect. I haven't made pasta since, well, for a long time. I'd say that's probably pretty good. And now what you do is you just roll it up. We're just going to take our knife, and I'm going to cut really thin noodles, because that's how I like them. My wife doesn't like them as thin, but I'm making it. And I gotta choose. Since I'm making her dinner. She chooses chicken and teriyaki sauce with the rice. That's got to be on the least of my favorites. Like at the bottom end of the stuff that I don't like to eat. I don't like rice. And I'm not real fond of teriyaki sauce, so... How do you say this will hurt your knife? And it does. But as long as you keep it steeled, you're fine. Like, I should probably steal it right now. That's much better. And then what we'll do is we'll unravel all these and then we'll store them in the fridge until later on tonight when we're getting ready to make the food. When we're getting ready to cook it. Or put it all together, I should say. I'll have most of it prepped. And that way when the wife comes home, it's just quick and easy. And then we'll store these in this bowl right here. So basically, you just want to unravel them. You got your noodles. You know what I'm saying? And these will cook up real quick compared to like store-bought. Those have been dried and whatnot. And if you did this right, then your noodles won't stick together at all. They'll be good. You see how these are like linguine size noodles? That's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want fettuccine. I wanted linguine size. I'm an angel hair linguine style. If it's fettuccine, give me linguine. If it's spaghetti, give me angel hair. Not even thin spaghetti. Give me angel hair. And my wife will absolutely love me for doing this. Every once in a while I surprise her with something like this, and it's not very often, but it's often enough. Anyway, I'm going to unravel all those and clean up, and then we'll be back to doing the elk steaks, breaded up and pounded out. Okay, so we got that all done, and we're just going to throw some plastic wrap on it and toss it in the fridge. And we'll just save this for later on. And then we'll get started on the elk steaks in a bit here. Alright, so we're going to make our flour mixture really quick here. Let's set off to the side our stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to add about a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. Half teaspoon of garlic powder, just granulated garlic from ye old Costco. Some sea salt, kosher style. We are also going to add 1 whole teaspoon of that. ground sage. Just any old ground sage will work. And we're going to be adding a half a teaspoon of that. Cumin. Ground cumin. I like cumin, so I'm going to be adding 3/4 teaspoon of that. Some paprika. You don't have to have the fancy dancy brands. All this stuff from like Walmart, the Great Value and stuff like that. You know, they're all co-branded from somewhere else. So half a teaspoon of the paprika. Now remember, this is just going to be lightly done at the beginning, so this isn't going to be an overpowering flavor when you go to make your Parmesan chicken. I just like to have a little bit of flavor on my stuff. And this, just some chili powder, just to give it a little bit of kick, not too much. So I add 1 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then what we do with this is we take the smallest whisk in the world and just incorporate it all into your flour. That way it's nice. I use this small whisk because it actually does better than the fork. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, you could just use a fork. But I just like to get this all incorporated into the flour really nice. And when you're done, you should have something that looks like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, it'll be kind of like a grayish color when you're done. Then we're going to get some more coop brush eggs. They won't be as fresh as the ones that I had. But then we are going to use 2 eggs. Look at that. We can use the same colors as before. It looks like I got 1 egg left for the wife in the morning. She has 1 egg every morning. So basically what you do here is you just whisk this up and then on the next thing will be our actual breading. And pretty soon here, right now we only got 2 chickens that are laying. And so I go a few days. We've only gotten, matter of fact, we've only gotten 4 eggs from the 1 chicken. And another small whisk. The master of small whisks. I'll tell you one thing. Having chickens at home has been awesome for having our own fresh eggs, so you can just go out and collect every day. So we're going to whisk that up, and then I'm going to show you my next little trick. All right, I'm back with my secret ingredient. See this? There's honey bunches of oats. You've got oats, you got corn flakes, you got wheat flakes, you've got nuts, you got all kinds of stuff in this stuff. Little bit of sugars. So what I do is I have my coffee grinder right here. And this isn't actually my coffee grinder. You know what it is? This is my spice grinder. This is what I use to make spices and breadings and all that stuff. So I don't have to use my my blender for this kind of stuff, or my food processor or whatever. And I just fill this up and shake it around and pulsate it. Let's move our steaks up out of the way here. We might need another go at this. And then we just pop our top on, switch it over, and look at that. Let me dump her in here so you can see. You get some bigger pieces like that, I just toss them back in. And you see that? Look at that. Nice, crumbly, good texture, tiny bit of sugar in there. We're going to do one more batch. And mostly the flakes this time. Maybe some almonds. And then what we're going to do this time is we're going to pulse it a little bit less. And this will give us that nice, crunchy, crispy texture that you want. There we go. One more. That's it. You see how we left that a little bit chunkier this time? Okay, so the trick to pounding out your, well, any kind of steak or chicken, anything like that, a lot of people use cling wrap, saran wrap, whatever. I like to use a gallon bag Ziploc. And the reason why I do that is because you can stick your steak in there. You can get all of the air out of it. And you can zip it up. No mess. You don't have to clean anything up. All the blood stays contained. When I pound mine out, I like to use the thick side first and then the thin side. I'd use the thick side because it spreads it out faster, and then I use the thin side to make it more uniform. So we just start on the edges, pound it out, and slowly work your way inward. I've got my oil heating up right here. So once we're breaded, all right, that's quite enough with the thick side. Now we pound it out with our thin side. We'll leave that one in the bag. And we'll get our mixtures out. Go flour. You want to make sure this is nice and floured. Everything is covered. You want all those nice seasonings we put in there earlier. And then dredge it. Make sure you're completely submerged. Every little inch of this steak needs to get covered in flour and egg wash. Then into here, pat it down. Make sure we're nice and breaded. Perfect. And then into the oil. So all this will be prepped. This will go into the refrigerator here in a little bit. I'll pull all this stuff off. All this will be cleaned. And then we'll start on our marinara sauce. My wife makes a lovely tomato sauce from scratch from our garden. And I'll go downstairs and grab a couple of jars of that. We'll build our marinara sauce for our pasta and for our Parmesan. Oh yeah, there we go. We're done. Get that up there. Look at that. Nice and golden brown. Right onto our rack. Turn our flame off. And we'll let that stand for probably a good half an hour. And then we'll plug that into the fridge. And we'll start building our marinara sauce. Alright, so I ain't gonna lie to you guys. We were out of my wife's tomato sauce. She must have used the last one up when we had spaghetti the other week. So, I'm using the Ye Olde Kirkland. So, it's 2 cans of that. I want to reach back in here into the Proline can. You know what's in here? Special stuff. We need a tablespoon. And we do 1, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar into our stuff. We're also going to use a can of tomato paste. All right. Get all that up out of there. I would have had to use a can of this anyway because it's a thickening agent. Let's get into the real seasonings. What we want in there. This is the dried rosemary from our garden. Looks like we're almost out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump all this in my hand, like so. I'm going to take this last little stem out of there, and then I'm just going to crush this up in my hand. So it looks like so. And I'm going to dump all that up in there. Thyme. Add a little bit of thyme. Thyme is very powerful. It's a very potent herb. So we're going to use about 1.5 teaspoons of this instead of a tablespoon or so. And then I do the same thing. I crush it up in my hand before I dump it in. And that goes straight in. We have some oregano from our garden, which is not enough. And this is just your basic Italian seasoning, what I'm putting in here. You got your oregano, thyme, rosemary, and I didn't see if I had basil. So we need a little bit more oregano. And so we've got this Italian oregano from Wally World. And you need a lot of oregano. So that stuff's already pulverized. I don't need to do anything to that. Let me see if I've got some basil. I'm going to have to ground to my wife. No basil up in this motherfucker. No basil? You used up all the basil on purpose! So we omit the basil. 'Cause I ain't got no time. Alright. Let's get back to it. Paprika. Half teaspoon. Onion powder. Half teaspoon. Sage. It's about a quarter teaspoon. Don't do too much. Regular black pepper. About a quarter teaspoon. We'll do more later. We don't want to overpower it. Regular salt. And it flies to the moon. Half teaspoon to start. And garlic to finish off our spices. If we had basil, we'd put that in there, but we ain't got no basil. This is just your basic marinara. Half teaspoon. Garlic, granulated. Put it in there. Alright, now we turn it on. Clean as you go. Clean as you go. You know, clean as you go. You got more mess to clean when you're dirty. When you're tired from cooking. Let's go through the 3 stages of whisks we've used today. So you know. The flour whisk. The egg whisk. The sauce whisk. Mix that all up. Get it incorporated. Make her look good. You want a thick sauce? I'm making it. You got your sugar. You got your oregano. You got your thyme. You should have your basil. You got your rosemary. You got your sage, just a tiny bit. You've got your garlic powder. You got your salt, your pepper. You got your onion powder. And you have your whisk. And paprika. Alright, so you mix that up in there. Alright, let's turn her down. We want this to simmer. We're going to get a lid on that bitch because we don't want her to splatter. We don't need any splatter. It just splattered. Doesn't matter. Is that the right one? Oh, it is wrong. So wrong so many times. Is this the right one? Oh, yeah. That is it. All right, so I'm going to get you closer. Turn this down to low. Let me turn this over here. I got to whisk it up really quick, and then I'll get you on it. There's a nice thick sauce. It's going to reduce down a little bit, and you're going to add water to it. You're going to add 1 cup of water or less. We'll get a cup, and then we will go from there. Let me get something to set this on. There we go. All right, let's get you up in there. You ready? What does that look like? Let me get you some light. How about that? What does that look like? Delicious is what it looks like. All right, we're going to let that simmer for a little while. Get it hot, and then we're going to reduce it down a little bit, and we'll be back. All right, guys, now the time has come to flavor test it. We'll pull it off the heat just so it doesn't bubble on us that much. Keep the lid on it for a second. Let some of the sauce drain back into the... If you make a mess, clean it. You don't want to piss your wife off. Also, another pointer about your wife. You have to go to the bathroom. Don't wash your hands. You got a little bit of dong flavor on there. Make sure you touch her food. Anyway, we're going to give this a quick stir. As long as you don't have pee on your hands, it's alright. If you have pee on your hands, you gotta wash your hands. You don't get no pee on there, but you just got some dong on there, go ahead. Better stuff up with some dong on your hand. She'll love it. She'll be like, ooh, what is that flavor? Dong? And you'll be like, oh yeah, it's a little bit of dong, you know what I'm saying? Alright, let's test it. Now that's a choice marinara. We need to add a little bit of water. Just a tiny bit. I don't think we're going to add a whole cup. We got about a half a cup of water here. It's about a half a cup. We'll add that in there and then we'll stir it up. This is going to loosen it up a little bit. Not a whole bunch. Just a little bit. You don't want your marinara really loose. And the reason why is because when you put it on your Parmesan, your elk Parmesan, you will have too runny of a consistency and it'll just all flow off. So you don't want to do that. And I'll show you the consistency right now, what we want. So we're getting in there. See that consistency? Oh yeah, it's bubbling. Let's get that lid back on so we're not making a mess. Boom. That's all you get. Tidbits. Tidbits. That's all you get is some tidbits. Alright. So we got our water added in there. We're bubbling it down. We're going to add probably 1 more tablespoon of sugar. Because I want it just a tad bit sweeter to mellow out the acidity in there. Just a tiny bit. So we're pulling this off. Get our cap off there. 1 more tablespoon of sugar. Now, if you don't want sugar, you can always add honey. And I've done that in the past, and it turns out all right. You need to add a little bit more honey than you do sugar. So I added 3 tablespoons of sugar. You would probably want to add 4, maybe 5 tablespoons of honey to this. And we'll just stir that up and then we'll give her a taste real quick. And yes, I'm double dipping. This is in my own house. I don't care. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. Shut up. Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect right there. We need no more. All right, got our stuff set aside. Got this on low, and we're gonna let that simmer for probably another 10 minutes or so, and then we're gonna turn it off. All right, so we went to the store. We got some asparagus. We're gonna do like a garlic butter asparagus. We're gonna set that aside over here. We got some Parmesan. We're gonna grate that up. We got a fresh mozzarella ball that we are going to slice up, and then we're going to build our Parmesan elk now. So what I like to do is I like to take some of this parchment paper and stick it on our cookie sheet. That way we don't dirty up our cookie sheet like with nasty crust that doesn't like to come off. After you're done, you should have a pile of shredded, grated, whatever you want to call it, Parmesan fresh to go on top of your Parmesan. Oh, got our breaded and fried elk. This is the one I touched with my dong hand. Wife's really gonna like that. All right, so we got the dong touched one here. We got mine right there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here and we're gonna give this a little stir real quick with our ladle. And we're gonna use one small ladle of sauce for each one. And we're just gonna spread that out. You don't want it too saucy. There you go. Get you up in there. Look at that. Ooh, yeah. Nice and saucy. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to do a little tiny sprinkle of the Parmesan on the underneath. Not a whole bunch. Just a little bit to get that flavor on there. On the underneath. This is Parmesan elk. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lay our mozzarella slices on this. Like so. That one there. That one there. Boom. Just like so. Let me throw some Parmesan cheese up on there to make her nice and toasty. I like to put a good layer up on top. And then we got some, we'll have some reserved for the linguine and marinara. All right. Do a touch more on this one. So now when the cheese and stuff melts, it melts onto that parchment. And so we don't got to worry about it. So I'll bring you back after we get to the next step. All right, for this garlic butter we're going to make, we just got this minced garlic from Costco. The old Kirkland signature brand. We're going to throw one nice heaping tablespoon up in there. Close that up. Then we're going to take a half a stick of butter. Get that in there with our fork. And then we're just going to take a little bit of salt, probably a teaspoon or so here. Put this butter to the side. And then you just kind of mash it all together. Mix it up. That'll make your, you want to use soft butter. You don't want to use melted butter. Use this for our asparagus and for our croissants to make like a garlic bread type deal. And we'll go ahead and prep our croissants and get this spread on there. Alright, so we got our bread knife out. We're going to use the fork to spread it. I'm just going to go right through this croissant. All the way through. Slice that in half. We'll take another one. Do the same thing. Just like so. So you got 2 halves. And you don't need a lot of this. Just a little bit. Spread it as thin as you can. With the fork. A little bit of this goes a long way. You don't need a ton of it. What we'll do with this is we'll just shove this in the fridge and we'll be done. We'll leave that out so it stays soft. Okay, update on the surprise dinner, guys. My wife just texted me and she asked me to pull out burger. And then I said, okay, will do. She has no clue. I've gone through all this preparation to make her this special dinner that I've been doing all day. So we're in the bag, dude. Okay, so the next thing you want to do with your asparagus is you want to grab it like this and snap it. Where it snaps is what you want to put in. So just go through and snap her up. Clean as you go. Clean as you go. Now we'll take our garlic, last of it, garlic butter, and we'll toss it in here. Then on top of it, because that's probably not going to be enough, we'll throw a little bit of olive oil up in there. Not too much. And we'll throw a little bit of pepper. And just a tiny bit of salt. Because we already got some salt in there. So we don't need a whole bunch. The wife doesn't like a lot of salt. So then we'll just toss these around in here. Get them all coated up. So when I start cooking them, they'll be covered in this delicious garlic butter. And they'll be tossed in that olive oil and garlic butter and salt and pepper and be ready to cook down. Alright, so here we are at the plate up. Look at those. They look delicious. Put that up on there. Move that over a little bit. Get our asparagus up on here. Our noodles. And our sauce. Little dash. There you have it. See if I can tilt her down a little bit. Ooh. Delicious. And that's a wrap, guys. Peace. Just so you know, the wife loved the dong.